Okay, so another example here, I'm just going to start with this relational database. This is a database with two or more tables, and this one deals with authors and books. So I have two tables here. You can have many tables in a database. If you want to add a table, you just go to Create and Access, and then I would just go straight to the table design and start creating the fields and the data types. But we already have two tables here. We have the author table with just a handful of authors in there. And the author ID is like one of those, well, let me go into table design here. The author ID is an auto number. Then we have the first name and the last name. Those are text columns. And I'm going to close that and show you the book table. The book table has a book ID, title, ISBN, price, and so on, stock value. But then it has an author ID. So we can link the book to the author that wrote the book. So, for example, Stephen King is author number 1 in the author table. And you can see his books, It and Carrie and Cujo, all have author ID number 1. So this is what we call a relational database because the two tables have related data. And in Access, if you're going to do that, you would set that up in the Relationships window. You would go to Database Tools, Relationships. I'm never going to make you do this. I do have an assignment which has a relational database, but it's already made, so you don't have to do this. But if you want to do this, you can do this. If you're comfortable with two table databases, two or more tables, and you want to push yourself a little bit, absolutely you can do that. So we would set that up in the Relationships window. I'll delete the relationship just so I can reestablish it so you can see how to do that. Okay, what we would do, so you have the author ID is the primary key of the author table, and then we have the author ID. This is called a foreign key in the book table. All right, it's the foreign key. So in the relationships window, to make that relationship official, you would drag from the primary key, drop on the foreign key, okay, and then the top two checks is what you would do, and then create that. So then now we have a relational database. Okay, I think before I exit this, I am going to save this in an older version for the same reason I mentioned before. Sometimes you might have trouble, you might get an error connecting to the newer version of the database. So I'm going to save this as a very old MDB database. So you can see right here at the very top, this is an ACCDB, which is a more contemporary format. But I'm going to go to File and then Save As, and this one with the MDB extension. I know that one will work if this one doesn't. So I'm going to do a Save As. Yes, I'm going to close those tables and the relationships. Okay, so let's see here. Go to put that on the desktop, and that's books.mdb. Okay, so let's see, we have books ACCDB and then books MDB. So I've got my two versions, the newer one, the older one, just in case. So now let me open up the Visual Studio. I already have a Windows Forms application going, our typical Windows Forms application, and the Data Sources tab is right there, okay? And I'm going to add a new data source. Again, I want to reiterate, if you close your data sources window and you're like, hey, wait a minute, where to go? Go to the View, and then I believe it's Other Windows, and Data Sources is right there. Okay, so I'm going to, I don't think I want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to do Add New Data Source. Again, connecting to a database for now. And a data set is what we're doing here. And then I'm going to establish a new connection, connecting to Microsoft Access database file. Okay, so I am going to browse for the, I'm going to try to connect with to the newer one, But if that doesn't work, I'm going to fall back on the older one. This should work here. I don't think I'm prone to getting the error. I'm going to test that connection. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to click OK. All right, and then at this next juncture here, I do next. Always yes, always yes. I do want to make a copy of that books database from the desktop into my project folder, okay? And there's something else going on, which we'll talk about in the next unit as well, but it's very important you say yes at that point. Okay, and then I'm going to say next. Okay, so now I've got two tables here, so let's be careful. I want to grab them both. I'm checking both author and book, and I'm going to finish that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is, I don't really like that. Okay, I like them overlapping like that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the authors, I'm going to put like text boxes to show the authors up here, and then in the bottom part, I'm going to have a data grid to show their books. So I'm going to pull this down and do details, and then I'm going to just plop that onto the form there. Okay, and all those ADO.NET objects are going to come up as usual in the component tray. I can test this real quickly and run it and make sure I'm seeing the actual authors. I'll just use the standard navigation buttons on the binding navigator for this example. I'm not crazy about those, but we'll just go with it. That's really not the point of this one. I want to show you the data grid. That's really the point of this. Okay, so here is my data. You can see the authors there. There are only 4 authors in here, but I'm arrowing through. And that data is being pulled from the author table. Okay, so now I want to add a grid at the bottom to show the author's books. So if I'm looking at Stephen King, I want to see Stephen King's books and only Stephen King's books in that grid. So here's what I'm going to do. You're going to drill down into the data set here in the data sources. Okay, I want to show you something. I want to, I'm going to expand everything here. I want to add a data grid for the book table. I've got 2 options here, this one and this one. Which one should I choose? If you want the data to reflect, you want the books to be only for the current author being viewed, which is what I do want here, you want to grab the subordinate book, not this one, the one that's bumped in a little bit, the subordinate one, the one that's subordinate to the author table. Okay, so data grid view is the default. So if I plop that on the form, okay, I'll stretch that out so we can see everything. Okay, I'll go ahead and run that. Okay, so you can see just Stephen King's books here. I go to J.K. Rowling, just the Harry Potter books, J.K. Rowling books. Okay, so the subordinate one for the grid. All right, let me show you if you had taken the wrong one by mistake. Let me delete this grid and do it over again. I think I would have to delete this too, the book stuff. Okay, so let me build this, make sure I'm error-free before I continue. I'm not error-free. Let me see. I think, yeah, I'm going to just comment that out. Be careful when you're doing ADO.NET because so many objects are created and it really is quite a mess to clean up after the fact. If you do something wrong or you have to delete something, it's almost better to almost easier to just scrap the whole darn thing and start again from scratch. And I mean, you can see we haven't done a lot of code yet. It's not like you're doing tons and tons of work. It's just a lot of clicking and establishing and, kind of wizard type of work. So let's see. Okay, so I am error-free at this point. So I'm showing you what not to do now. I made a big deal about you grabbing the subordinate book table in this case to do the grid. What if I didn't? What if I grabbed this one by mistake? Watch the behavior. Okay, everything looks the same. It seems like it's going okay, but then watch the behavior when we run this. Look at that. I don't see just Stephen King books. I see all of the books. Okay, that's not very helpful, is it? So be careful with that. Always grab the subordinate table when you want to do a coordinated grid with the text fields at the top of the form.